At my grandfather's wake, a lawyer handed me an envelope that said, "Open this alone." At my grandfather's wake, a lawyer handed me an envelope that said, "Open this alone." Earl had been my grandfather's attorney for 30 years. He pressed it into my hand as people milled around offering condolences, and something in his expression made me pocket it immediately without asking questions. I waited until I got home. My wife, Beatrice, was staying behind to help my mother, Joanne, with arrangements, so I had the house to myself. The envelope was thick, cream-colored, sealed with wax. Inside were 3 items: a letter in my grandfather's handwriting, a birth certificate, and a photograph of 2 teenage girls I didn't recognize. The letter started normally enough. He talked about his love for the family, his hopes that we'd stay close. Then the second paragraph began. "Simon, you need to know why your mother and your Aunt Bianca stopped speaking 23 years ago." I'd grown up with that silence as background noise. Mom and Bianca had been close once. I'd seen old photos. But by the time I was 10, they never spoke. Family gatherings were carefully choreographed to keep them apart. When I asked about it as a kid, Mom said they'd had a falling out over something that couldn't be fixed. I stopped asking eventually. My grandfather's letter laid it all out. When my mother was 17, she got pregnant. My grandparents were devastated and sent her to stay with my grandfather's sister in Oregon until the baby came. She gave birth to a girl and placed her for adoption through a private arrangement. They thought that was the end of it. 2 years later, your mother met your father and got pregnant again. With you. She was older then, more settled, and this time she kept the baby. She married your father and started over. But Bianca found out about the first child. She was furious that your mother could give one baby away and keep another. My hands started shaking. I had a sister somewhere. The letter explained how they'd fought, how Bianca said terrible things about my mother's choices, how my mother said Bianca had no right to judge her. They hadn't spoken since. I set the letter down and picked up the birth certificate. Mother's name, Joanne Patricia Morrison. Father, unknown. Baby's name, baby girl Morrison. Date, September 14th, 1982. 23 years before I was born. The photograph showed 2 teenage girls with their arms around each other, smiling. On the back, in my grandfather's handwriting, Joanne and Bianca, summer 1981. I thought about all those years of silence. All those family events where they stood on opposite sides of rooms. All the times I'd wondered what could possibly break 2 sisters apart so completely. My phone rang. It was Beatrice, saying my mom wanted to go through some of my grandfather's papers tonight and asking if I'd come back. I told her yeah, I'd come. "Everything okay? You sound strange." I said I was fine, just tired. I drove back to my mother's house. She was in the kitchen with Beatrice and my Uncle Elton. When she saw me, she smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. She looked exhausted. "Simon, honey, can you help me with something upstairs?" We went to my grandfather's study. She closed the door. "Earl gave you the envelope." I nodded. She asked if I'd read it, and I told her yes. She sat down heavily. "I've carried that for so long. Your grandfather wanted you to know after he was gone. He thought it might help you understand why Bianca and I..." Her voice caught. She said Bianca could never forgive her. And maybe she was right not to. I started to say something, but she kept going. "I was 17 and scared, and I did what my parents told me to do. But Bianca was right about one thing. When I got pregnant with you, I fought like hell to keep you. I wouldn't even consider anything else. And that first baby..." She pressed her hands against her face. She said she never let herself think about her. Not for years. I pulled out the birth certificate and asked if she knew where the girl was. She looked up at me, and I saw something in her expression I couldn't quite read. "Your grandfather hired someone to find her. About 5 years ago. That's in the envelope too. There's another page." I reached back into the envelope. There was a second sheet I'd missed, paper-clipped to documents underneath. I unfolded it. It was an adoption record. Baby girl Morrison adopted by Thomas and Patricia Whitmore. October 1982. Name changed to Beatrice Ann Whitmore. My wife's birthday was September 18th, 1982.